So I do want to say one quick thing about this. This is a big issue that I don't have time to deal with. This has been long enough already, but I saved this for last because I wanted to talk about all the other stuff first, and time has gone away from me. But there is this statement he says about say something about that. He was dealing with a case where there was a woman who paid for a bicycle, and someone tried to take it back, and she was caught on video. Um, and it was demonstrated that she actually did pay for the thing, and the guy happened to be black, who was trying to say that she didn't pay for the bike or something like that. I that's as much as I could glean from the sources that I was reading. Um, but where's the statement? Where's the statement? Um, Yeah, it turns out she actually paid for the bike. Something that's common in New York City is that young thugs will come up and actually, as you rent the bike, push the bike back in, kind of as a way to troll you, as a way to be like, oh, you paid for it. Well, you lose all your money type thing. So this white woman gets completely misrepresented. This is a pregnant woman, equivalent of Nicholas Sandman. She got suspended from her job because of this. This is Nicholas Sandman 2.0. Now, they were trying to hide him in urban America. Prowling backs go around for fun to target white people. That's a fact. It's happening more and more. Um, and then he blames it on the social justice agenda. And uh, you see an argument anytime you see anything between a white person and black person, you've been trained and conditioned to believe the white person is terrorizing the black person. If you thought this video was really what the media told you, then you've been conditioned by that, right? So again, he's pointing to unconscious biases that happen in us. In this case, an unconscious bias that comes from the social justice agenda to get us to interpret any disagreement between a white person and a black person as if the black person is always right. Is he right that that effect can happen? Maybe. I don't know. Uh, Ultimately, I don't think you need to settle that to evaluate what he's saying here. Um, is it true that people can be um, uh, misinterpreted and expected that they're the bad guy because of their racial identity, though? I think that's certainly true that it can happen. And and and, and that can happen with white people because it happen where the black person is assumed to be wrong because you expect them to be more likely to be a criminal, right? Unconscious biases can go both ways. And he's pointing to one way that it can go. The left will point to one way it can go. The other way that is going on in this so anyway, um, she was also called a Karen, and he wants to say that that's a racist term when directed against a white person. I'm not so interested in sorting that out now. That's a long, interesting subject. But here's the thing: the the prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people, right? Now, where does that come from? Is that coming from Charlie Kirk thinking black people are all criminals? I don't think so. He's recognizing that there's higher crime rates in cities. He's recognizing that there are disproportionate amounts of that within black communities than there are in other neighborhoods. And often enough, and I mean, most of the time it's the perpetrators in those cases are black, but he's sort of expecting that that is increasing the amount of black on white crime. Uh, is that accurate to the actual crime statistics? Well, most crime is intra-racial. So black on black crime or white on white crime. Most crime, because people commit crimes with those that they know, and we tend to still have a lot of segregation in our society in terms of who we know. In murder, certainly, most murders are white on white or black on black compared with black on white or white on black. Most are white on white and black on black. Is that what I said? I don't know. Rather than white on black or black on white. Um, so is it an accurate claim that there are groups that are prowling around for fun? There are such groups, but um, perhaps there are. And that's what he's worried about. Is he thinking that the majority of Black Americans are doing this? He doesn't say that. He's just saying that there are people who are doing that. And he thinks that this is an example of that. Uh, so I mean, then we have to take that with a uh, a more careful look. But he has admitted that he has been affected by unconscious biases. We just saw that in one of the other cases, right? And that could be that that's affecting him here and thinking that this is happening more than it actually happens, maybe. Uh, or maybe he's thinking it happens relatively the amount that it actually does happen. But even if it happens relatively small percentage of the time, if it's happening at all, then what he's saying here is not false. It's just that he's emphasizing it in order to present a particular political point. That political point is people sometimes have assumed that white people are always the aggressor and black people are always the victim. And here's a case where that's not so. There are times when the aggressors are black and the victims are white. Is he wrong about that? No. Um, is he trying to do illegitimate things, perhaps to dress up racial animosity, to ramp up racial animosity to make this point? Maybe. I think you could wonder about that, but I don't think it's clear from this case that his view is that nothing he says here really requires thinking that most black people are criminals, uh, or even assuming that any particular black person you run across, they're most likely think people are trying to portray him as doing by presenting this quote. Does the quote look bad? Absolutely. Would I say something like that? No. The things that he's trying to say that I think are true are not best represented by saying it that way. And he should have known better than to say it this way. He's intentionally trying to be provocative, I think, in order to make a point and win over people who are already inclined to be outraged about a particular direction of racial animosity that can have racial expectations and assumptions that can happen. And this does that job better than being less provocative. Does that reflect well on his character? I don't think so. It does not. But does it show that he holds this much more disturbing racist view that black people are all criminals and their character is such that they can't avoid being criminals and so on? I don't think so. I don't think it shows anything of the sort. Nothing that he said here requires believing anything like that at all. So my response to this is it's pretty complex uh, uh, analysis that I think both his defenders and his detractors have been reading this in ways that are not helpful. So